All right, YouTube. We're gonna call this video Shop Safety. So I'm explaining to y'all something. And some of y'all may know it, some of y'all may not. When you're dealing with torches, oxygen, acetylene, propane, oxygen, it doesn't matter. It's very, very dangerous. When they tell you that this shit will explode, this shit will catch fire, they mean it. It's not no game. It's not nothing to play with. So I'm in my buddy's garage. I just happen to have a torch set up over here in his garage. You know, I got a couple different torch setups. I got one at the shop, got one in a few different garages I can use time to time. My buddy is a mechanic, so I got a torch set over here because he needs to use it sometimes. So the torch hose was wrapped around here, wrapped around the handle of the cart like this. Hooked to the oxygen bottle. This acetylene bottle, this acetylene bottle is empty. We got this acetylene bottle. It's too big to fit on the cart, so we just got it standing here. Torch hose hooked to both bottles. The excess wrapped around here. I was standing out there by the tow truck cutting. I got a bumper brace out there. I was cutting some excess material off of. While I was out there cutting, I heard the torch popped. Like it was spitting and sputtering, and it popped. And I just happened to look over here, and the whole fucking torch cart was on fire. You see it burnt the hose up, burnt the extension cord. There was an extension cord right there. Somehow, the acetylene part of the hose blew apart. Looks like it happened right here, but I'm not 100% sure where, because the whole torch cart was on fire and it was just spitting a flame out. The flame was so big, it was all the way over here to this car, just shooting flame. Now, when you're dealing with torches, if you went to school for this stuff, welding, oxyacetylene, cutting, anything like that, they explain to you in school. These regulators have built-in flash suppressors or blowback suppressors. So there's a thing inside of this regulator that keeps, if something is to happen, your hose catches on fire like it just did, it keeps that fire from going back into this tank and causing this tank to explode. So when you're dealing with oxygen acetylene or oxygen propane, you need to always make sure that you have the regulators that have the built-in suppressors on them. I think I'm saying it right, suppressor. So while the torch cart was on fire, you see it burnt the side of the bottle up. The torch cart burnt the torch cart up, all of that. The thing is, I was able to make it in here. I had to crawl up under here, get to the bottle, turn the bottle off. Now, no matter what situation you in, the very first bottle you want to turn off is always your ignition bottle. So in this case, it was the acetylene. I was able to get to the tank, turn the acetylene off. Now, what they teach you in school, when you go to school, a lot of people may know, some people may not. That's why I'm making this video, to let you guys know. When you got acetylene or propane and you're dealing with a cutting torch, you only want to crack this bottle open a quarter of a turn. Literally, 1/4 of a turn. Just enough to get your pressure into this regulator. Some people, I've seen guys, I worked in a steel mill. I'm an industrial pipe welder. I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen many accidents. I've seen stuff blow up, burn down. People have come over here to the acetylene tank, crank it all the way open, 3-4 turns, whatever, not thinking. If something happens and you come to this tank, you don't want to be trying to keep turning, trying to get this tank to turn off. That's why they tell you only crack it open a quarter turn. So if anything happens and you got to get to this tank and fast, you know, quickly and shut it off, you only got to turn it a quarter a turn to kill this flow through the hose. And it could be a life or death situation. You know, by the grace of God, I was here. I seen it. It was on fire. I was able to get in here, shut the tank off. Nothing burn up. You know, of course, the hose is bad, whatever. But oxygen is not flammable. Oxygen will explode. This oxygen tank is not flammable at all. But When oxygen gets hot, if this tank was to gotten too hot, or the gas and the oxygen was to mix and this regulator wasn't doing its job, this tank will explode. And it's a dangerous situation. I've seen it happen. I've seen people get hurt. I've seen guys die inside of the steel mill. I mean, oxygen is explosive. It's nothing to play around with. So, you know, luckily the fire was here. You could see it burnt the tank up. It didn't get the tank hot enough. I was able to get here in time, shut it off, get everything stopped before this tank got hot enough to explode. Like I said, luckily nothing else caught on fire. It was all right here contained because the hose was wrapped around this. But, you know, I just wanted to tell you guys and explain to you. And when you got a hose, I don't exactly know what happened to this hose. I don't know why the hole busted in it. I don't know why the flame sucked back into the hose. You know, I can't really explain it to y'all. But the thing is, when you got a shop, especially a situation like this is my homie's garage. He does mechanical work in here, everything. So it's no telling. This hose could be strung across here. You see it's metal, rust, metal shavings, cuttings, you know, anything laying in the garage floor or your shop floor. You dragging this hose around. These hoses don't last forever. So you might not realize it, or you pulling cars in and out of the garage. Somebody might have run this hose over, not thinking about it. You know, it's a lot of different situations. When you look, you know, people get complacent, and I'm guilty of it, you know, just as much as the next man. When you get complacent, things happen. And luckily, you know, I was able to get this situation under control. Nothing serious happened, but these hoses are fragile. You know, they're made to be able to withstand some stuff, but you can't just be going crazy with them, dragging them all across the floor. You know, you might have it wrapped around something and you trying to drag the hose and you not thinking, you might just kind of give it a little tug and you don't even know that it might have been hooked on something and made a little cut in the hose, or maybe it didn't even go all the way through. It just weakened the hose just enough. These tanks are high pressure tanks. Even though you're regulating the tank down with your regulator here to the proper pressure that you want going through your line, there's still a lot of pressure inside of this tank. And when you running 20 PSI, 15, 20 PSI, some people like their oxygen up to 30, and you running 5 to 7 PSI, some people like 10 PSI on your acetylene. You know, you don't seem like that's a lot of pressure, but when you running through a little thin hose, you know, anything can happen. So, you know, you just got to pay attention, man, and only crank that tank open a quarter turn, no matter what. When the tank gets low, sometimes these tanks get low, you get to the last little bit that's in there, that quarter turn, it's going to seem like you're not getting all your, you know, you might think, oh, well, if I crank it open a little bit more, I'm going to get a little more pressure out of there, try to get every last drop out of there. I've done it. I know many of guys that's done it, but it's not safe. Pay attention to what you're doing, man, because this situation right here could have been ugly. This is my buddy's garage, like I said. I mean, there's all kind of stuff in here, chemicals, gas. He's dropped a gas tank right now, putting a gas tank in a car. You know what I mean? It's all kind of accelerants. If something was to happen and I wasn't able to get this fire put out, this whole garage would have burnt down. And, you know, all of this stuff happens, but you know, we got fire extinguishers all over the shop and in the garages. Everywhere I go, I make sure I got fire extinguishers, but you never know what can happen in a situation. So it's always best to pay attention to what you're doing. Check your equipment. You know, like I said, these hoses, once a week, something, look at your hose. And that's my fault. I should have looked at the hose. But like I said, I think this is a 25-foot, might be a 50-foot hose. So all of the excess stays wrapped around the handle of the cart. We only unwind it to get to where, you know, I was out there cutting. So, you know, you might not always look at your hose, but it just takes that few seconds, man, a minute to look at your equipment, check it out, make sure everything is all right, because stuff like this happens, and this could have been a real bad situation, and I don't want to see anybody else. You know, if I can give you guys some information to help you, because I don't want the next man to get hurt or their shop burned down, their garage burned down or anything like that. You know, when I tell you this thing was shooting a flame all the way over here to this car up, you know, this is a hot flame. I had to go up underneath it on my knees to get to that tank over there. Some people might have not reacted in the same way. Like I said, I worked in a steel mill for many years. I've been around this stuff all my life. You know, I've seen terrible, terrible tragedies, but I've always learned and I've been trained over and over again never to overreact. So thank God that I, didn't overreact, run away, or get scared, not thinking to come in here and turn the tank off and everything burns down and we lose everything in this garage. That's why it's always best to check your equipment, know what you're doing. If you need to ask, I'm here to help, or get some training, anything like that, because I don't want to see anybody lose any of their belongings, their property, or, the worst case scenario, lose their life or get injured because of something that could be avoidable. I appreciate y'all for watching. Hope everyone has a good day. Stay safe.